Squeak, squeak.
Traffic on Boston Road was ridiculous.
Did you ever read Mike?
It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is Citizens Forum. Anyone for Citizens Forum? Going to the consent agenda, that's the minutes of January 27 and the bill schedule of January 30.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Next item is the student update. Are you going to tell us about Truck Day? We'll tell you about Truck Day, don't worry.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Kyla. I'm a senior this year. I play volleyball.
Welcome.
I'm Megan. I'm also a senior, and I'm on the basketball team.
Excellent.
So first we wanted to update you guys on midterm schedules. Like I said, I think it was 2 meetings ago that we were changing it this year. So instead of doing it by like class periods and saying, oh, A block, everyone goes to A block, we did it by subjects. So we set aside 2 days for each subject. And so if you had math one day, you would go to your math class. And I honestly like the new schedule. I thought it was going to be a little bit confusing, but I think it ended up working out pretty well. Mr. McCarthy sent out a survey to all the students and faculty regarding how they liked it, and 59% of the students said they liked the new schedule, and 55% of the faculty preferred the old schedule better, but I don't know, we'll see what happens next year. Also in academics, AP English students who were juniors and seniors took their mock exams a few weeks ago. And our second quarter grades closed last Monday. And also seniors are starting to get their college acceptances and deciding where they want to go, so that's very exciting. It's a good time. So we also wanted to talk about athletics, and our boys, girls, and basketball teams are both doing extremely well this season. Along with the Northbridge Rams hockey, they're winning all the time, which is awesome. Love going to those games. And also we had a few records broken. One was by Jen Casino, who broke a school record for track, and she's also heading to nationals. So good job her. And Curtis Rochelo also broke a school record for the shot put. And Bryson Grennan in basketball also hit his 1,000 points, which is the first time that's happened for a boys player in 10 years now. So that's very exciting as well. And I bet he looks forward to the Clark tournament coming up in a few weeks, which I'm excited to go to too.
So just some other fun stuff that's happening. Seniors have a class trip coming up to Ski Ward on February 13th to go snow tubing, which we are both very excited about. It's a fun little senior activity. We also had an environmental club presentation put on by a representative from the Blackstone Valley National Corridor, and we showed the movie Bag It, and it basically talked about how you can make everyday efforts to go green and reduce environmental impacts. And I know it was very interesting to a lot of our students, and I think it was really good for the school to put on. It does actually make a big difference once students know how they can make a difference. And exciting news, especially for us seniors, we are continuing to commit to internships, and 97% of our class has one in place right now. Me personally, I am going with a friend to One Mission in Westboro, working on marketing fundraising for stuff for pediatric cancer patients, which I'm very excited about. And we also had our first unannounced lockdown drill of the year, and we also plan to have another one after February break, and it went very well.
Questions? Basketball, volleyball, what's better?
I don't know. I love watching basketball. I'd give you that, but
Yeah, I mean,
I miss volleyball so much already.
I was the fan section rep at volleyball games.
That's true. Very true.
When did the internships begin?
Internships begin April 6th, and
Okay.
they run for 6 weeks.
So people are starting to line them up, and that's
Yeah.
great.
Mr. Marcucci, who's in charge of it, usually likes to have everything lined up by the time we go out on February vacation.
That's excellent. Something to look forward to. Great.
So we're very excited.
Definitely.
And you've done the Connecticut basketball trip a couple of times now?
Yes.
How many times
I've
have you
been
done that?
four times.
4 times.
I love it. It's so much fun. We do get a lot out of it.
Did it help in looking at schools or thinking about what you wanted out of a school?
Like for the past, I think 2 years, we've toured Trinity, as you probably know. And I know it's helped a lot of us. A few of my teammates actually applied to Trinity, and a lot of us just liked going on college tours when we were younger. Like I know the freshmen, sophomore, just like getting exposed to college tours. So that's definitely a good part of the trip.
That's awesome. Great. Thanks a ton.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Coffee?
Yeah.
You can drink it at night, no problem sleeping?
Thank you.
Next item is an FY20 budget update.
Hello.
Hello.
So in regards to a budget update, I actually don't have any updates for you at this time. Everything is going well. But I thought what I would do, in the last meeting we discussed kind of summarizing all the items that are over budget at this point in time. If you want to me to go over those?
Yeah, first, if there were any questions on the budget report, just see if anybody had.
No?
Then, yes.
Okay. So we can start on page 2 for superintendent other expenses. It's currently showing over by $1,164. And that's due to the classes that are being offered in the high school through the Blackstone Valley Superintendents Association. We're anticipating about another $2,000 to be expensed to this GL.
Why does it need to be there?
Well, right now it's just a placeholder. We will probably move it to a more academic line, some, in all likelihood in high school, as we get further into the budget. But it was just a placeholder.
You know, I still don't like Munis.
I know. It's just, yeah. So we'll move it to the classroom where it belongs. Further on. So then on page 12, under Med Therapeutic Services in the high school, it's showing over by $1,000. And this can be made up between the elementary and the middle school for Med Therapeutic Services.
Where was that again? What page?
On page 12.
Right in the middle.
And stop me as I go if you have questions. And then on page 23, for classroom technology for the middle school, it's over by $632, and that's due to a student on an IEP, and that can be made up between the Early Learning Center and the elementary line items. On page 24, for the instructional middle school, that is over by $1,800 due to the cancellation fee for virtual middle school. And then on page 26, for McKinney-Vento, that's showing an overage of $3,500. We just received a check from another school district that we're splitting the costs with, so that will drop it down to $367 of an overage. And I'm anticipating that we'll be over by about $1,000 at the end of the school year between the other school district reimbursing us.
Where is this one?
That is on page 36.
36.
McKinney-Vento.
26.
Did I say 26?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I couldn't see it.
And then on page 38, student activity contract services for the high school. That's currently over by $725. And that's the fee to participate in esports. And we should be able to make that up in the salary line item for the high school student activities.
So that's something you're gonna start charging now, the esports?
Yes, we're gonna come back with a recommendation to the school committee as we get, because this was something new, because we had a new teacher who does this, and so we'll bring that forward to the board later in the year.
With some recommendation around, is it a sport, is it a club? What what do you charge based on that?
Yeah,
There's participation fees and there's a coach.
so it's new, try to get my head around exactly how that's gonna work.
Was there discussion that there is an aspect of it that could fall into MIAA?
Yes.
Okay.
We're in the process of looking at all that, pulling up the expenses and
Figure out
figuring
what
it
it
out.
would cost, yeah.
Yep. And then on page 47, for ground salaries, that's currently over by $190, and that's due to overtime with the snow and working outside.
So we only budget the overtime on the custodian, and so if our grounds guy does overtime, it gets charged back to the custodial line.
On page 50, building contract services is over by $181, and that's due to some building contracts coming in higher than anticipated. And that can currently be made up under the Early Learning Center building contract line item. On page 51, under building other expenses for the elementary school is over by $2,700, and the middle school is over by $3,400. And those are due to the exhaust fans that we purchased towards the beginning of the school year. And they can currently be made up under the Early Learning Center line item. And that covers the overages. Does anybody have any questions on those? And the other thing I wanted to touch base on, and it's in your packet, is we made some revisions to the PowerPoint presentation.
Are we switching over to item 7?
Sorry, I always do that to you.
You're doing great, keep going.
Is that okay? Okay. So on the PowerPoint presentation, we made some revisions based on last week's meeting. So if you turn to page 22, or go to page 22, you will see the enrollment history and projections. And we went out through FY '24. And stop me if you have questions on the way. So based on the enrollment projections, I redid the revolving accounts for bus fees, parking fees, and athletic fees. And what I did is I went back to FY '18 and took a percentage based on the enrollment and the percentage of participation and used that figure to get more accurate figures for revolving. So like the bus fee, the participation was 48%, parking fees is 58%, and the athletic fees is 72%. So I went with that to forecast out. Great for the gate receipts revolving, I lowered that by $500 each year due to the decreasing enrollment. In preschool, I revised. I used the same enrollment as we had this year, with the increase in the price that you approved at the end of last school year. And the last one I revised was school choice. So that's been revised with 8 new students being added yearly. And keep in mind that we're losing students from school choice as they graduate. And we decided to go with 8 due to the incoming 9th graders and some students who are in the high school who go out of district but want to stay within the district. So that's where we came up with the 8. And those are the revisions that I made to the PowerPoint. Does anyone have any questions?
That's great.
It's kind of interesting though that to see how the graduating class is shrinking, or projected to shrink so much.
The total school population
Yeah.
is about 200 down, almost 200 down in over 6 years.
Yeah.
We should see, well, I'm curious to see what happens this year with the numbers from Blackstone Valley Tech. The number of kids who have applied dropped by, I want to say 15 or 18 students. Number of students who applied, it's at 54 this year. And the other factor is that there are less, the classes coming through are smaller. And so you're going to have, just proportionally, as we just showed, less students applying. So we'll see what, I'm actually not looking forward to, but I'd like to see a more realistic number next year going to BVT. Last year's number was an anomaly, however, it has ticked up over the last couple of years. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We prepare the kids very well, and it's a great opportunity for our kids, but it does impact our enrollment. So we based the numbers at 30 leaving the district. And I came up with that number. It was a little bit of a guess, but because our class sizes are dropping, we just thought that that's probably, from any year, it ranges between 30 and this past year to over 45 total, with kids going to St. John's and other places. This year was kind of an anomaly, but it's been in the mid-30s for the last several years.
I wonder if a similar formula to what Nancy was doing, just on the percentage of the population,
Yeah,
if that isn't a better estimate.
yeah,
or-
it could be,
I mean, it's a dart to throw, but
but we should see. Well, again, it's a wait and see, because they can pick. But there's supposed to be some changes in how students are selected, so that's what I'm looking to see, what those changes result in for Sutton.
excellent. Let's go to the school calendar, see if we can't stir anything
Thank
up
you,
on that.
Nancy.
Drop some vacations, have people start in early August.
This draft is a mirror of the current calendar. There is one major change, however. This is a presidential election year, and because the high school is the main voting, what most districts do now is move the PD day to November. And so that's what we did for November 3rd, as opposed to the October 9th PD day. Other than that, this is basically what you voted as a calendar from the previous year.
Can we get rid of February break? You know I'm gonna forever say that, because we're working on an agrarian calendar and we're trying to make our school more progressive. We're trying to bring it into the 21st century. So does that really make sense in light of what we're doing? And are we gonna make all of these changes at once? So why, yeah, I think we need to re-examine this yet again. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I think we need to examine as we move forward, because there's no way that we're gonna go from one year to the next and make all of the changes that we need to make. So how are we gonna do that?
What I'd say is the best part about the calendar is it's up to you five.
So you heard me.
I do have a question. Why October, a half-day professional day on a Thursday?
So that's the exact same calendar as last year. So that's why I left it there. We can move it to the Friday, because remember last year, the 9th, I just wanted to start with this calendar so we could have discussion. We can move that to the Friday. We could move it to the Wednesday. We can move it anywhere you want it. But I wanted to start with the discussion with what we currently have and then take it from
I
there.
see a nice vacation week in March.
How much difference does it make to have professional development days on different days of the week? Like if you always do them on Fridays where you're running blocks, no way to know where it's gonna hit, but.
Part of me, I think it's important to do it on different days because you have different specials. So kids have music every Thursday. If they have every Thursday, they miss music every Thursday, miss, in the lower grades. Part of me wants to keep the Thursday so that it's human nature. You have a half a day on Friday, and it's a long weekend. You're thinking about the long weekend. And so I was thinking, you keep it on Thursday, we have school on Friday, people are engaged, you have to go back to work the next day. Many staff will stay later into the evening like they often do, and that was my rationale. The flip side of that is families use that as an opportunity to maybe have
Leave Thursday night.
leave Thursday evening or leave, Friday at noon time to head out. So I'm not, like I said, I wanted to start the conversation. I wanted to give you last year's calendar, and then I'll seek guidance from you guys on what what options you'd like me to put on the table for the next time we meet.
How many full PD days do we have?
3,
So why can't we put those at the beginning of the schedule?
we
Beginning
can.
of the calendar?
I think we've had them spread out in the past so that teachers can use them throughout the year as they've learned more or as they get more data. Doesn't mean we can't, but historically, the reason why
Well,
we
ha-
spread them out is to do just that.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but, I don't know.
could we
I still
move-
struggle with that half-day PD day.
Could
Sorry.
we move a full day, PD day, God forbid, to a vacation week?
That'd be nice too. I was thinking that. Absolutely.
I just look at, and I know we're, November is probably my favorite month of the year. When it comes for kids to go to school in
Look at this.
November,
They're not going.
it's ugly.
It is
Um,
ugly. It's an ugly month.
And
You're
there's,
right.
and there's nothing you can do that way. I understand that because of the holidays, but I'm just trying to figure out for the rest of it. You know, we've had this discussion since I've been on this board about trying to get bigger chunks of education
Additional
time.
time.
And if we can take, you know, I'm not opposed to the day, the one full day in, actually I'd prefer it to be a half day in March, and take that full day and either roll it back into the February vacation week or roll it ahead into the April vacation week. If the kids are off from school, it's not gonna affect them. And then the other one that I have a question on is, in November, the parent conferences half day.
Yes.
Could that be rolled in or merged in with the November 3rd Professional Development Day? Parents have to come to the school to vote, at least for 2 of the districts.
So that one would be an additional day for the staff, so you couldn't do that.
What do you mean it would be an additional day?
That's a no-school day. So
Which
staff
is a no
goes
school day?
The third.
the 3rd for, so the
So-
staff will not be there.
Is it
Okay,
a
all
no
right, I
school
see,
day
I
be-
see, yeah, all right.
Why is it a no school day though? Like for staff?
I take it back. I'm sorry. That's a PD day.
Yes.
So it says,
No
So it's-
school, but it says PD.
I'm sorry, so it's a professional development day that's contractual, it's a full-day professional development day. You know, is it possible to say, we'll take a portion of that day to use for parent conferences, or you could do it after? You'd be giving up some PD time.
if you could turn the 19th into a full day of school, you'd at least have one full week of school in
Well,
Yeah.
November.
the 19th is just K through 5.
Yep.
Yep.
So the 13th, the 12th is a whole day.
Fair enough. If you did that, K through 5 would also have a full week in November. I wonder that November looks,
So
maybe it looked
choppy.
that bad last year, but if there isn't something we can,
So the good news is, you have basically September, October, with Columbus Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. December, again, is December. January cleans up, February cleans up, March cleans up, so you have large chunks there. I do like to have the March day, only because it is, if you look, there is a long stretch. It's a good time to reflect. We also,
where's the
Perfect
longest
time for
stretch?
vacation.
March is fairly
Well, you go from February vacation to almost April vacation.
You know,
You have
3
half
weeks, then you
days.
have a 3-day week, then you have a week, and then you have a 4-day week, and then you have 2 weeks.
Well,
and a
that's
week
the
off.
argument for having the day.
Okay.
Is that, because otherwise you would 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks in between with only 2 half days.
Or if we merged February and April and just made a March. And more time on learning.
I would say
I'm
that,
not booking, I mean, it's not that I'm saying I want them out of school earlier. I'd rather see a longer stretch of time.
Did you want more feedback?
you're giving feedback to each other. And I would say, though, that to To add PD during school vacation week, I would not recommend that, because families, you know, they traditionally plan on going, and if they're gonna take a vacation, they take it those weeks. And so that would mean that PD would probably not be as well attended as I would like. But again, you can move these things around. I will look at, and I'll speak to the union about the potential of having, and maybe moving one of the half-days in November into the PD day and have PD day for a half a day or till noon time, and maybe incorporate that into that day so that we free up some time.
Even if you took the week of Thanksgiving, where 25 is already a half-day, does it sort of make sense to mess up that week and try to clean up some of the weeks in front of it? Like if you move the parent conferences on the 12th and put them in 23 or 24. I mean, and there's a decent argument for, yeah, November's trashed, but you really have opened up as well as you can all the other months. I don't think that's totally lost.
We're always in this November funk.
Yeah.
Well, would it make sense to clean up doing a half day before Thanksgiving and just the no school on the 25th?
Yeah, make half day a PD day, or make it a full day PD day.
Either way, I mean, I'd have to look at the contract about how the 25th looks. I mean, there's a lot of businesses with similar, but if we could do the 25th where you just, you know, kids don't go to school that day, but try to use it for PD in some fashion, that might be.
So the city of Worcester does not, they have no school on the 25th, so they just do that. You could, that's not a bad, actually, idea to move the PD, a half-day PD to that date.
That's why we said it.
Yeah, that's not, that's,
And I like Bruce's idea about, can you do some of the parent conferences on the 3rd?
and what that would do is you could, so you could move the
You can move both those
12th
half-day
to the
yeah.
3rd,
to the 3rd.
I think.
and you could move the 19th to the 25th.
We
Well,
can
that's
turn the 19th to the 3rd as well. That's K through 5. I would assume the 12th is for all the other schools.
No, there's 2 different days for parent conferences, because all the parents come. You have 100% attendance for parents. So they do
Wait,
2
I'm
half-days.
confused.
You get half the parents on one of the half, and you get the other half the parents on the other half.
Where,
Wasn't,
And
there wasn't anything for the high school last year. Got canceled.
Well, we have half-day parent conferences on the 12th, and half-day yeah, so,
Used to have a,
yes, we used to do that, and so they switched that out. So, again,
so how many parents come for parent conferences then?
well, in pre-K to grade 5, 99%.
Okay.
And then high school did something different this year, and middle school, I don't know what the attendance is offhand, but many parents do attend.
The high school one got canceled.
Right, I forget exactly what they did. I believe they did a different, so let me just get back. What you're trying to do, though, just so I understand, is move the 12th to the 3rd. Do the morning from 8 to noon, you do professional development, lunch break, and then they do parent conferences. The 12th then becomes a regular school day.
Yes.
You're also saying make the 25th a half-day PD day? Have it be in, well, actually,
Be the
let me-
back
let me-
half of the,
yeah, of the
Third.
3rd.
Well, you can't do that because then you don't have a full, then you don't have a, it doesn't count as a school day.
wait a minute.
Okay, so we shift the calendar
Students have
by
to
a
go,
day.
students have to go 180 days.
So then we shift the
Okay.
calendar by a day.
So then you'd have to bring the kids in, and then you just bought all the teachers for another day.
Then you have to, yeah, so we wanna be able to do that.
Well, we'll play with it, it'd have costs associated with it.
Or you do bring the kids in the morning and the teachers have the half-day in the afternoon on the 25th. Yeah, I know I'm bucking trends, but
Well, what I would say
we
is.
gotta get imaginative.
You're not making a day disappear, you're just shifting.
You're talking about the half-day
Yeah.
conferences.
So right now, 25, the kids are there for half a day, so it counts as a.
School day.
As a school day.
Oh, all right.
I still think what we're doing here, and if you start shifting them around, the notion of a half day there and then a half PD day on 25, or doing parent conferences, it just seems like the use of the third and those 3 half days in there, there's an opportunity.
So the only way getting rid of the 25th doesn't cost us a day is if it was a full day. Swap with that, but the problem with that is,
It's Thanksgiving.
Yep.
The busiest travel day of the year. So that's a,
And move it to December. Change around the 23rd as a half, what is that, it's just a half day?
it's a half day.
what happens in November, it's the end of the first marking period. So we schedule, I mean, it just
Right.
coincides, that's when you do your parent conferences, update parents where they are.
Is that really a good time to do parent conferences?
We've gone back and forth. We've done them earlier, we've done them later, we've done them 6 weeks into the year. We've settled back on these dates. I can certainly go back and
Well,
meet with
I'm
the
just curious, I mean,
principals.
ultimately, if a child's having problems, I'd expect that there'd be communication back and forth between parent and staff
It's already taken place.
prior
Sure.
to that. So then truly the purpose of conferences as we're coming up at the end of first marking period is what relative to getting a report card?
So you have your parent conferences.
Mhm.
It's, they come in, they sit with the teacher, they go over their child's test scores, how they've performed so far in the year, gives parents an opportunity to meet the kids. It's a pretty important meeting to have with parents. Very, very important meeting.
I found the extra day.
Remember,
It won't be popular.
What? Go ahead, Joe.
Unlike all the other suggestions we've had so far.
Go ahead, first
Like
up.
everyone I throw out. Move the start of school
Yep.
back to September 1st. And they go 3 days that first week because we can't get them out of school any earlier because we've heard from people that by the time September, end of August comes around, they're itching to go back to school. So throw them back in for 3 days that
Days.
week, and then
Sounds good?
that 4-day weekend to me is less of an
We're gonna start
irritation.
school in September in a
Do
while.
you recall there was something in the contract though where we couldn't
Can't
start so
start
many days
Before the
before Labor
28th, I
Day?
thought.
Can't start before the Monday. So actually, yeah, so we would start on you can't start before the Monday, before Labor Day weekend in the contract.
So they
Wait a
could,
minute.
so the teachers could come in that Monday.
Yep.
And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, first day of classes.
Yep.
Or,
Yes.
even better, start on the 2nd and make them go to school that first 3 days including the 4th. Instead of a 2-day week
Yep.
and then a 4-day weekend.
The 4th might be in the Friday may also be in the contract, I believe it is.
We do
So
have a contract
We have a
negotiation.
contract
Yes, we do.
negotiation, and
Yep.
you can do that as well. You could also do orientation day on the 31st and start school for the students on the 1st.
Yeah.
You can do
Yeah.
that, but then you've got to move
You
your
gotta,
PD day someplace else.
right.
You still have the PD day contractually that we have to,
How,
that's all built into the,
what do you typically do for PD on the beginning of the year?
it's kind of an important time to get ready for the start of the school year, any changes. And it varies from year to year, depending on what the initiatives and what the goals are for the year. So do I think starting the first day with an orientation, the second day with PD, the the thing that was always new to me when it came to the Blackstone Valley is this Friday off before Labor Day weekend.
Well, then that's,
It was,
there's nothing that says you
it's
can't
con-
change it.
well, it's in the contract, so you'd have to
Yes.
negotiate that out of the contract.
Absolutely, but
But that's,
again, aren't we doing what's best for the kids?
again, I look at this very simply. The students have to go 180 days. The staff have to go 183 days by contract. Actually, 184 days. The orientation day plus 3 full-day PD days. Then it's just, we have, it's not contractual,
So
just so you know.
then let's
the
make 3 full PD days, and not worry about trying to bop in all these little half days.
I would say you need half-days. I say,
Okay.
so what's important for the half-days, especially, well, in all grades, but especially in the lower grades, that's a great time to look at data. I mean, we do all of this testing. You need to create time where teachers can look and
Right, so
look at data.
so you're saying that only takes a half day?
Well, we use the half-day for various things.
Right, right,
So-
so if you had a full day, could you be not that much more effective and efficient at doing what you need to do?
Contractually, there's 3 full PD days.
Right, and so
That's all.
Right, and so that's what I'm talking about, is having 3 full days and utilizing those full days. So, okay, the kids don't go to school those days, the calendar changes a little bit more.
You have a full day
You get the
on
first.
the 1st,
Yeah.
Yep,
the 3rd of November,
Yeah.
and the 17th, and let me get
Oh, the
closer.
19th of
The
March.
19th of March.
Okay.
So those are contractual.
okay.
The half-day PD days, and again, the issue is the half-days in November. Let me talk to the administration, let me talk to the principals who deal with it all the time, let me talk to them about those half-days.
And for me, the issue isn't the half-days in November. The issue for me is November's got a lot of time off. There just isn't much there. And if there's this conscious effort that says, yeah, we lost November, but it made the other months better, I guess I'd like to hear that that was a conscious choice. If it isn't, it strikes me as, after you finish October, it's gonna be pretty spotty until you get into December. Just wonder if there isn't
This is
either-
what it looks like, the only well, you got Veterans Day in there, and then if you have the election day and you move your PD to that day, which I would highly recommend, because it'll be crazy, that's an additional day out, so you lose 1, 2, 3, you lose 4 full days and 3 half-days. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So right now, we have 9 half-days, so essentially a full week worth of time. Right, as half-days and professional half-days?
Throughout the whole schedule?
You have 5
Right.
half-day PD days. You have the half-day before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
The half-day December 23rd,
2 half-days for parent conferences.
so that's 9 half-days.
Yes.
And because 19 in November has got 6 through 12 in the system, you couldn't take 19 and move it to 3. You could take the half-day 12 and do parent conferences on the 3rd.
I just wanna get, for myself,
Yeah.
before I say anything, I just wanna get clarification on these dates. Again, just wanna get this out
Yeah.
in your hands in February. But I'll take all of this information, all of your thoughts. I'll have a meeting with the administration, we'll plug through, I'll follow up on the parent conferences. There are some contractual obligations with parent conferences. In the contract, we have to have a half-day available for the staff to be able to run some conferences during the day, and they come back contractually at night for conferences. So that's in the contract. When we do those, but again, if you move those into October, now you make October choppy.
Yeah.
If you move them into December, you make December choppy, and then you start having use the word, but snow days potentially, like we had this year, and then it becomes choppy.
What have we had so far this year? 2?
Three.
3.
3 days, and then winter disappeared.
Yeah.
I understand it's coming back on Wednesday.
You know,
Yeah.
the timing's never good. So I'll take your suggestions. Di's taking copious notes for me, and I'll come back with some answers to some of the things, some of the questions that you had. And then we can talk about it during contract negotiations as well. We don't have to vote on this calendar until we get further into the into the
You know what
spring.
I'd love to hear in thinking about this is I'd really love to hear what all of our parameters and limitations are in creating this schedule.
Well, the only parameters that are contractual is when it starts. I believe that Friday before Labor Day. Parent conferences, we have to offer a half day for parent conferences. Technically, you could vote going to school on, remember when we said that? And we
What?
put the draft out there
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
Eve, and next thing you know, you have 15 people in
Yeah,
my
what?
office.
Go half day if that's, I mean, if you wanna play around with half days,
I-
go half day.
I-
It's a long stretch of time.
But then it's up to you, as far as
So when do you think you can bring us another draft?
March.
What I hear sort of support for in the committee is moving bits and pieces around, playing with those dates. But I don't think that we're into this year a large debate about major changes.
I still think we need to think of this in light of what we're trying to do with our strategic planning.
If you're alluding to getting rid of February and April and going to one vacation, I'd be all for it. Is it gonna fly? No.
So we had a long debate about that. We had it that way, and then we put it back here. So that's part of what I'm questioning, is if there's 2 or 3 on the committee that very much wanna do that, then I wanna get it out in public so that people can push in there. I don't know that I've really got the appetite to go after that right now.
But my concern is if we don't have it now, when will we have it? And if we're moving forward and we're trying to create our 3-year and our 5-year plan, when's it gonna happen then? And I'd rather see this happen sooner rather than later, because maybe we don't change it at all based on how we're going forward with the strategic plan. But I think we really need to consider that our calendar may need to look a lot different than we have now, based on what we're determining are the needs moving forward to address the education of the kids. That's just my concern, is I don't wanna pigeonhole us again back into an old schedule that may not work best for the kids. That's just my thought.
No, and I think it's important. I'm really trying to fish out folks
Yeah.
watching if they get a sense of where is the committee going with the calendar. If people think we're gonna go in a lot of different directions, we really ought to be warning folks so that they can come in and.
Yeah, and I guess I look at it, I mean, we keep February, we keep April. You know, we've talked in the past, we've had lots of debates about this. I think a week in March would be wonderful, but we've always gotten the feedback of it being such an uphill battle with testing and other things that we tend to stay away from that. And you know, we have to have the last day be June 30th.
Yeah, right,
We're
so, but even.
cautious to push too far up against that. We have contractual agreements on how soon we can start. And then in between, we have to have so many professional development days and other things that
Right, and-
sometimes it's not pretty, but it might be as close as we can get.
Yeah, but if you're talking about February and April break, and you consolidate it into one break, you've now got a week to play with. So you've actually gained a week. So instead of looking at this and saying, I've got 10 snow days at the end of the year, you've now got 15. So you got 3 school weeks in which to play. And I see as we remove these, I see we have more freedom to be able to create a schedule that works.
You know, it's nice to get a little flexibility and have that buffer. But I know in the past it was mentioned, you know, we're in such a rush to get the kids out, and then they have 10 weeks off.
Yeah, but
And that's a
I'm not-
concern
and that's
too.
why I'm saying I'm
And
not
I
in
know, I
that
think it was
rush.
last year, or the year before, I think we got out on the 10th.
About
For
2
me,
weeks
it
off
felt like
March.
it took forever.
Yeah,
to get
seriously.
to
I mean,
July.
thinking about how do you shift that?
Yeah.
How do you look at vacation differently?
We've talked about that, where.
You know, do you go 8 weeks on, a week off? I mean,
Right.
and that's what I'm saying, is I think it's really important to consider now what it could possibly look like, because that possibility is coming at us sooner rather than later, if we're trying to move forward with a strategic plan.
We've talked about the March idea, but it with kids in different school districts and parents teaching in one and their kids are in another, it's tough. It's almost has to come down from the state to try to combine that. I mean, I know there is talk of it, but
But if we wait for that, that's never gonna happen, and
well,
we're, you know, that's
Well,
my,
and we tried to do a test with the February break, hoping a couple districts in the valley might consider it. And it was just painful year after year getting feedback from a lot of parents about, you know, either camps being run or they're working in one district and kids in the other, or,
but
you
this
know.
this
CNE,
happens all around. I mean,
Yeah.
even to the people who are out in the public sector, it happens that, you know, your weeks might not necessarily coincide. It's, to me, I'm sorry, it's a fact of life. So, to me, if we can get it an 8-week run and a week off and another 8-week and a week off, maybe that's what's best. Maybe that's better for time on learning than this.
I don't hear a lot of difference in the debate we've had in the past on the calendar. So unless we think we're headed somewhere different, I would say we've sort of given,
PD days, are they the number determined by contract, or is the state tell you how many?
By contract.
By contract,
Yes.
okay.
The half-days those are optional.
Optional,
The half-day PD, the 5 that we have,
the district's option to have
Yes.
them that way.
Yeah.
correct.
But the number of PD days, the state doesn't say you have to have
No.
X number of PD days.
No.
Okay.
We have it, it's part of their
Okay.
package, yes.
superintendent's update.
So we were here last Monday, so I'm only gonna give you one update, and it's, we interviewed 5 candidates for the special ed director position. We're moving forward 2 candidates, David Gates from Spencer East Brookfield, and Andrea Alves Thomas, and she's from Boston. She works for the Boston Public Schools. They both have very different backgrounds, but they were both, either one would make a good candidate. So next Monday, one of the candidates comes in at 11 o'clock. They will be meeting with different groups every half hour until 2:30 in the afternoon. Then they'll finish up with me for half an hour. And we'll do the same thing on Tuesday. Each member of the search committee is taking a group. We were inviting parents. I'm gonna send an email out to invite parents to come and sit on the panels. And we will have evaluation sheets by each of the committee. The full committee that did the interviews will meet back with me on Wednesday. They will share out their opinions and thoughts, and ultimately be my decision which one to bring forward to the school committee. And my thought is, if all works out, we'll bring the candidate forward to the committee for an up and down approval in March, the first week in March.
Can you, years ago, we tried pretty hard to get contracts more and more in alignment with them. We had different contracts from different years, depending on where you were at. And I'm not sure whether the administration contracts are fairly similar at this
They're
point.
all the same.
They're all the same at this point, so that hasn't shifted.
No,
So if you can, at one point or another, just get the committee, email a copy of the latest contract, not, so that we can start to read through what it is for the current SPED director.
sure.
Well, what was the second candidate? Andrea Alvarez Thomas?
ALVES-Thomas.
Thomas.
They both have very, it's interesting. One's an attorney, knows all the grants, responsible for the grants, limited school experience. The other one has, the other one also has limited school experience, but has a different background, so they were both really great, so it was nice to see that there were two legitimate candidates for the position. I will just send over Karen's contract, we'll forward that over to the school committee.
Thanks. New business agenda, predictions.
Next week's meeting?
Let's see, no meeting next week?
Okay.
It's on the calendar as an optional, we've done 2 in a row, I think we're in a pretty good spot. You'll ask him to take it down off the,
I just won't, yep, take care.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thanks.